right. I am going to record this for people who are not here to not watch.
You don't know, they might watch it.
Yeah, they might. Okay. Well, the first test, which I finally got all of, is killing some people. Right. But, you know, like, part of me wants to say, well, that's your fault for not reading. And part of me wants to say, oh, you poor thing. So here's what we're going to do. You are allowed to take notes. Nobody is saying that you can't. I'm not telling you why yet. You have to take your chances. So you should be able to see your answers for the test. They came back on Monday or Friday or something. So you may want to look at your answers as we're doing this. Did you find it, Marin?
What?
Did you find it?
What's my name?
Sorry, Marin. I've had a Marin before. Marin, sorry.
It's okay.
Did you find it?
Find what? The ACT thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know my student ID. I don't know what that is. It's on the top of this paper.
It's your lunch code, isn't it?
No.
Oh.
It's the... You don't
Well, you have the paper.
Is that where like the paper that we got? Is that where like that my email is? I don't really want to see my bad scores. Oh yay! Okay, I see it now. See, I don't remember if I put my email and what email. Yes, it was.
No?
Lauren was like,
You'll have to find it. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this test real quickly to talk about what is the right answer. So we start out with the first one. Dividing line between slavery and freedom, which is the Ohio River. A lot of people put Canada on the Canadian border, which is true. Eliza and George Harris were trying to get to the Canadian border, but the Ohio River brought Eliza from slave territory into free territory. So it's the Ohio River. Okay? I got some interesting answers. Which character has been used to show the prejudice of Northerners? That's Ophelia. She's the one from the North. So when people are putting like Mr. Haley, I'm like, A, he's a slave trader, and B, he's not a Northerner. Mr. Shelby's from Kentucky, not a Northerner. Uncle Tom's a slave, not a Northerner. Tom Loker, not a Northerner. Marie, she's from Louisiana, that's not North. The senator, he doesn't really show abolitionist because he voted for the fugitive slave law. So Ophelia is the one who shows that. Which character explicitly says that he or she will not own slaves? That is Master George. George Shelby. He's the only one who says, I will never own slaves. The religious group who helped with the Underground Railroad is the Quakers, not the Quackers, the Quakers. Christians is a little too general. Pacifists, yeah, the Quakers were pacifists, but there's a lot of people that are pacifists. Abolitionists, no. Quakers, manipulative. Quakers, yeah. It's the Quakers. Not the Quackers, but the Quakers. What quality does Uncle Tom best represent? 2 points if you use the P word. The P word is pious. So you got 2 points for pious. Prejudice, no. He's not prejudiced. Trustworthy he is. I probably should have given that one credit. Actually, just one. Pride, no, I wouldn't say pride. Perseverance, but pious is what got 2 points. Oops, stay. Okay. What What law allowed the slave catchers to travel into Ohio to catch slaves? Lots of blank answers and question marks. The Fugitive Slave Act. You could say the Fugitive Slave Act, the Fugitive Slave Law. Some people put the date, some people tried, 1465. Christopher Columbus wasn't even here yet. But the Fugitive Slave Act is the one. If you have of 1850, that's just bonus. Lucy was the slave who? She killed herself, committed suicide, jumped into the river and died. John, age 30. John, age 30. She put that on several. It was somebody in here who I'm not going to name.
Was it a joke or was it serious?
I don't know. You would have to ask her. Who kept answering John, age 30?
Want to guess it's Olivia? I was going to say Lucy.
Okay. So more about Lucy. Check your answers. But somebody had written something about the other Lucy who we have yet to meet. And we have not met her yet. Maybe it's on the other, on the writable. But yeah, Lucy's the one who committed suicide because her baby got taken from her. 3 adjectives to describe Mr. Haley. Sneaky, secretive, dishonest, uneducated, loud, flashy, greedy, non-educated, trusting, rude, selfish, carefree. I didn't take carefree. Racist, desperate for money, evil, greedy, uneducated, gruff. Self-absorbed, cruel, uneducated, cruel, manipulative, high-strung. I think it's high-strung, but I gave him credit. So, yeah. If people knew he was greedy, uncaring, mean, whatever, that's fine. 3 adjectives describe Mammy. Remember, she's the slave, Marie's slave, and she is stuck taking care of Marie all night because, oh, Marie's so ill. And Mammy has to stay up all night taking care of her. And then Marie won't let her sleep ever because she's always got her running errands, doing this, doing that, up all night, and then she's got to do her regular work during the day. So, complainer, self-centered, non-empathetic, no, but I gave him credit. Persevering, good-hearted, hardworking, overworked, kind, hardworking, selfless, helpful, kind, motherly, old, helpful, strong, kind, sick, dishonest, and lazy. And I'm like, well, that's what Marie says.
She is sick.
Yeah. Kind, sickly caregiver. Exhausted, hardworking, unrelenting. Hard worker, bubbly, patient. Caring, loyal, helpful. Hardworking, selfless, and caring. Naive, submissive, mannerly. I'm not sure where they get naive, but okay. Rich, racist, and rude. She's a slave, for goodness sakes. Mr. Shelby seems like a nice guy, but can't be that nice because he owns slaves. He didn't go and say goodbye to Tom. That's a good answer. Yeah, anything like that. Those are good answers. Mr. Haley took Tom to Washington, Kentucky. I should have said in order to, because some people are thinking to and where they went next. He wasn't going there to sell him. I started giving partial credit to New Orleans. Sell him, no. Work, no. Sell him, no. Louisiana, buy more slaves is the correct answer.
Oh.
They were going to the big slave auction in Washington, Kentucky, where they were going to buy more slaves. Thomas sold from Haley to St. Clair. Most everybody got it. Most, I said. Thomas put in charge of, I took driving, horses, carriage, Eva, because he does end up doing that. Horses and the coachman, that's all good.
Wait, what was it?
What? Eva.
Wait, what was the question?
Tom's put in charge of?
Oh, okay. I said driving the carriages.
Yeah.
I didn't get a point.
Oh, that's my bad. That is my bad. Okay, Marie is constantly complaining of headaches, 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 being ill, headaches. Constantly complains of Mammy. I probably should have given that one a point. Her mom. Having headaches, Mammy. Maybe that's what they meant. Maybe they meant Mammy is her mom, who's not, then that's not true. The slaves making her sick, her headache with the slaves. Those are all good answers. Tom jumped in the Mississippi River to save Eva. He did not jump in to save Lucy. Master George was in Uncle Tom's cabin too. I took a lot of things. Teach him to read and write. Teach him how to read and write. Teach him to write. Read the Bible. Teach Tom to read. Have dinner. Teach him to read and write. Read the Bible. Read the Bible. Talk about Christianity. Oops, that one didn't save. I don't know whose that one was. But anyway, all of those answers are good. The Quakers were abolitionists and active in the Underground Railroad, but their religion forbid them to fight. They were not allowed to fight. They couldn't hurt others. That's your answer. Commit acts of violence. That's all good. All right. Then we get to the who says what. Sell him. No, you foolish girl. You know your master never deals with those southern traders. So she's got to be speaking to a slave. Why, you silly child, who do you think would buy your Harry? So who would be talking to Harry's mom? Mrs. Shelby. Who says this? I'm sorry you feel so about it. Indeed I am. And I respect your feelings too, though I don't pretend to share them to their full extent. But I tell you solemnly it's of no use. I can't help myself. I didn't mean to tell you this, Emily, but in plain words, there is no choice between selling these two and selling everything. Either they must go or all must. Haley has come into possession of a mortgage, which if I don't clear off with him directly, will take everything before it. I've raked and scraped and borrowed and all but begged, and the price of these two was needed to make up the balance, and I had to give them up. Haley fancied the child, and he agreed to sell him. Or wait a minute, to settle the matter the way. So that's definitely Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby's the one who came into a debt and had to sell it to Haley, had to sell the people to Haley. Did I get any funny answers? I think most everybody. Eva. And Chloe. Yeah, Mr. Harris, no. So this person just got the name mixed up. But when it's open note, yeah, I gotta draw the line. Who crept into the closet by mistress's door tonight? That was Eliza. Chloe. Mammy, she wasn't even in Kentucky. Tom's wife. That's Chloe. So most people got Eliza. Who said this? No, I ain't going. Let Eliza go. It's her right. I wouldn't be the one to say no. 'Tain't in her nature for her to say. But you heard what she said. If I must be sold or all the people on the place. So who's saying this? Uncle Tom. Yeah, I can bear it. You know, we don't want everybody to end up being sold. That's definitely Uncle Tom. All right. Oops. So who says this? Help it. Why, I buys a gal, and if she's got a young'un to be sold, I just walks up and puts my fist to her face and says, look here now. If you give me one word out of your head, I'll smash your face in. I won't hear one word, not the beginning of a word. I says to him, this year's young'un's mine and not yourn, and you've no kind of business with it. That's Tom Loker. Tom Loker is the really, really mean guy. Who says this? There has been a law passed forbidding people to help off the slaves that come over from Kentucky, my dear. So much of that thing has been done by these reckless abolitionists that our brethren in Kentucky are very strongly excited. Who's talking about this law? Senator Byrd. And he's only in that one scene, but I was hoping you would know that he was the one who helped pass the fugitive slave law and then kind of regrets it. Senator Byrd. Who says mercies? Don't see mercy in it. Tain't right it should be so. Master never ought to left it so that you could be took for his debts. Well, who's being taken for his debts? Uncle Tom. You've earned him all he gets for you twice over. He owed you your freedom and ought to get it 2 years ago. Maybe he can't help himself now, but I feel it's wrong. Nothing could beat that out of me. Such a faithful critter as you've been, and allers sought his business for your own every way, and reckoned on him more than your own wife and chillin', them that sells heart's love and heart's blood to get out their scrapes. That is definitely Aunt Chloe. She was very upset about Tom being sold. All right, not going to read this one, but who talks to Mr. Wilson? You treated me well. You encouraged me to do well. Learn to read and write. Not Master George, but George Harris. And you had to be specific. Since there's 2 Georges, you had to be specific and tell me which George it was. So there's George Harris. If you just put George, I said, oh, I'll give you partial credit. But you had to be specific. Okay. Who's the narrator talking about or speaking about? We can already know when we hear the traitor. Who was the traitor? Mr. Haley. Who said, Lord, hath mercy on thee, daughter. Thy husband hath escaped from the house of bondage. That's Rachel Halliday. And I took several different answers. Rachel, she's the Quaker. So if you put the Quaker wife or something like that, I took it. Who's described in this passage? Who floated around like a cloud? Who was the perfection of childish beauty? Eva.
Where? What?
Right there. Who's he describing? In childhood, he was remarkable for an extreme and marked sensitiveness of character, more akin to the softness of woman than the ordinary hardness of his own sex. Time, however, outgrew this softness with the rough bark of manhood, but few knew how living and fresh it still lay at the core. His talents were of the very first order, although his mind showed a preference always for the ideal and the aesthetic. And there was about him in that repugnance to the actual business of life, which is the common result of this balance of the faculties. Soon after the completion of his college course, his whole nature was kindled into one intense and passionate effervescence of romantic passion. Well, who went to college? It could only be one of 2 people, Shelby or St. Clair. It's St. Clair. Because, yeah, he was very rich, but remember, he said himself, he favored his mother, the womanly side. Who says, oh, that's just one of Mammy's fidgets. Mammy is just like all the rest of them. Makes such a fuss about every little headache or finger ache. It'll never do to encourage it, never. I'm principled about this matter, said she, turning to Miss Ophelia. You'll find the necessity of it if you encourage servants in giving way to every little disagreeable feeling and complaining. Who's that?
Marie.
That is Marie. She's such a witch. I would like to smack her, and it gets worse. Who's the narrator describing? Was this what so-and-so was thinking of as she stood gorgeously dressed on the veranda on Sunday morning, clasping a diamond bracelet on her slender wrist? Most likely it was. Diamond bracelet, they gotta be rich. Or if it wasn't, yes, it's Marie. So she is all fashionable, all in diamond silk, lace, and jewels, always pious on Sundays, not pious any other day of the week. Who says this? I am so-and-so. A Mr. Somebody of Kentucky did call me his property, but now I'm a free man standing on God's free soil, and my wife and child claim is mine. It is George Harris. Who says the following? Oh, I hope he isn't killed, because after the death comes the judgment. That was Eliza. And finally, oh my gosh, I believe I'm done for. The cussed sneaking dog to leave me to die alone. My poor old mother always told me it would be so. That's Tom Loker. Left to die alone because he runs around with crappy, crappy people. Okay, so if this test is killing your grade, here is what you get to do. And it's going to take some effort. It's not going to be something easy. If you jot down a few words, I'm not taking it. I'm not bothering and I'm not wasting my time. So you need to write up a good explanation as to why the correct answer is the correct answer. What you put down what you put down what the correct answer should be, and why that is the correct answer. You got that? Any question you want to point for? I can't make you do anything. Oh. Okay, so the redos. Write what you put. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do this. Screenshot the question. Paste it into a Google Doc. Explain why the correct answer is the correct answer. Got it? Incomplete sentences. Make an effort. Okay? And redos are due when? It's on the board. Oops.
Tuesday, March 8th. Can you get full credit for the...
Depends on how good your answer is.
I wrote down notes before. You open mine?
No. You go to your email. And in the search bar, search Google Forms. Okay, hit enter. Is that the test? Okay. Yep. Okay. These are due. Wait a minute, I put that on there. Okay. Now, let's talk about writable. So here's what you were supposed to do. So you were supposed to not just answer the question, but practice good writing. Use the RACE format. Restate the question, answer the question, cite from the text, explain how your citation fits the answer. Oh, wait a minute, that's yesterday's. Wait a minute, we don't care about that yet. Probably because you didn't do anything yesterday. Oh, then you should remember it. It was yesterday.
Well, I thought this was like the older one.
Oh.
I remember doing this. Wait, is this not the right one?
This is not the right one.
It was the other essay.
Yes. I want to go over the other essay first. Okay. So if this one is killing your, oh my gosh, come on. If this one is killing your grade, then you can redo this also. So what you were supposed to do in this one is choose one character from Uncle Tom's Cabin and explain to me what Harriet Beecher Stowe was showing about slavery through that character. For example, I use Mrs. Shelby. She's a kind, genteel woman, but seems to think that her slaves are beneath her. She shows that even the kindest people are racist. Your essay should have 3 paragraphs. An introduction with the author, title, what your character is like, and a thesis. At least 1 body paragraph with textual evidence, and a conclusion. Why this even matters. So let me give you a couple of examples. Now, when you do an in-class writing, I don't expect it to be perfect. I expect you to be able to organize your thoughts quickly and show me what you know. Now, if you haven't read and you know nothing, I think your grade should reflect that. That's the point. So in the book Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, there's a character named Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is a slave who was originally owned by the Shelby family. Uncle Tom is very trustworthy, caring, and generous. In his lifetime, Uncle Tom has gone between multiple places and met so many new people. Slaves are treated differently by every new person they meet. Through Uncle Tom, Stowe is trying to show us that slaves have to leave their loved ones behind if they are sold to another person. Author, title, the character. Gives me some background on the character, a nice clear thesis saying Stowe is trying to show us that slaves have to leave their loved ones behind if they're sold to another person through Uncle Tom. Topic sentence. When Mr. Haley, the man who bought Uncle Tom, came in to pick him up, all of his friends and family were extremely upset. So she's going to show me what happens when they have to leave their loved ones. Got a quote. Tom had been looked up to as both as a head servant and a Christian teacher by all the place, and there's much honest sympathy and grief about him, particularly among the women. No one had ever expected the Shelbys would sell Uncle Tom as he had been with Mr. Shelby since Mr. Shelby was born. Uncle Tom had to leave, though, because one of the other slaves that had been sold to Mr. Haley was on the run. If Uncle Tom had run away, too, the Shelbys would have to sell their whole house, meaning the rest of the slaves, including Uncle Tom's family, would be gone as well. So, quote, and then it tells me why that quote matters. In Chapter 5, another quote. Uncle Tom was being led to the wagon. Mr. Haley told him to get in. So states, Tom got in, and Haley, drawing out from under the wagon a seat, a pair of heavy shackles that made them fast around each ankle. Whoops, hang on. Uncle Tom is being put in shackles and taken away right in front of his family. Everyone around Tom knows the shackles are unnecessary, but Haley does it anyway and takes Tom away. So, a very short paragraph. She wanted to show me how slaves have to leave their loved ones behind and how they're treated differently when they get to another person. And that's what she did. In conclusion, nearly 150 years later, the concept of slavery and having to leave loved ones is a huge deal. In schools, we still learn about what life was like, what life as a slave was like, because in today's world, we don't know what it's like. The idea of being sold from one person to another, having to leave your loved ones, possibly for good, just isn't a worry anymore. We learn about these concepts so later society won't make the same mistakes. No one wants to be owned by another, nor do we even want to think about the idea of having to leave loved ones. So a nice conclusion tells me why all this matters. Here is another one. In Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, she includes a character named Ophelia St. Clair, who is Augustine St. Clair's cousin from the North. They put this character into the book to show how Northerners can be racist. Miss Ophelia is an abolitionist, yet she is prejudiced. And I thought that was really a nice thesis. And this is just kind of restating. She believes that slaves should be free from slavery, but doesn't want them to be integrated into everyday society. Everyday society with them. And I just really like that thesis. Very clear. Nice topic sentence. She's a blunt, pious Northern woman. Although being an abolitionist, she doesn't believe that black people are equal to white people, and gives textual evidence, sets up the textual evidence, gives textual evidence, analyzes it. Sets up the textual evidence, gives textual evidence, and analyzes it. Very nice. What?
Is that one mine?
I don't know, is it?
Maybe.
Maybe. So Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, Ophelia St. Clair is added to the book to show that Northern people, although normally abolitionists, can also be racist. A nice summary. We should care about the subject because we as a society are still affected by it. There is still racism today, and the book can be used as an example of why racism is wrong and help get rid of it. Even though slavery in the United States is gone and illegal, racism never stopped along with it. Uncle Tom's Cabin helped start the Civil War to end slavery, and it has been used as a lesson to teach children the history of America and how to not repeat it. People feel empathetic about the characters they read in this book to bring the emotion of the people from that time to life again. So very nice conclusion that really gives an example of why we care. So, If you want to redo this essay, you may. However, you must email me telling me it is done. Otherwise, I won't know. I don't get notifications from Writable. Everybody got that? You have to let me know. I'll put that on the landing page too. Okay. Then Monday, I was only boiling a little bit when I saw how many people weren't doing this.
I was doing it, just not quick.
Were you talking?
No, more like trying to find.
Oh, okay. Were you reading? Okay. Well, maybe I was a little too harsh.
Yeah, 30%. Made me tear up a little bit.
You probably did. You probably said, yes, 3 points. Okay. So remember, for each question, you have to restate the question, answer the question, cite from the text, and explain how your citation fits. So I started writing a question, and my question was, show me the horrid effects of slavery on Topsy. And then I Googled the question. And then Cliff's Notes popped right up. So I said, okay, I'm not doing that. So I went ahead, instead of you guys copying and pasting Cliff's Notes like it's your own, I went ahead and put Cliff's Notes in here. And Gate told you that their analysis, and now you have to show me how they got the analysis. What?
Oh.
Okay, what didn't you? So, you know who Topsy is, right? The little girl, the 9-year-old? The physical abuse Topsy has endured is awful. The mental abuse and absolute lack of expectation for his development is worse. And worst of all is the spiritual abuse. Only Eva and Ophelia, but Ophelia not yet, see Topsy as a child of God, and only Eva at first sees her as lovable. Topsy herself knows nothing of love. To her, the word literally describes how she feels about candy, nothing more. She has never been loved, never has loved, or has never loved. She does not love herself. This is the real crime committed against Topsy, and it is, as Stowe allows Topsy to show, the crime that slavery commits upon humanity. Not only slaves, but all of those who participate or support it, the subordination of love to profit. So putting profit over love. So I wanted you to just give me 2 different situations where Topsy shows the horrid effects of slavery on her mental and spiritual development. So anybody got one? What?
Wait, it's loading. Okay. The time that Topsy showed. Do you want me to read my answer?
Sure.
Okay. I said a time that Topsy shows the horrid effects of slavery is when Eva shows her kindness, the only kindness she'd ever received in her life. The quote is, "It was the first word of kindness the child had ever heard in her life. A sparkle of something like a tear shone in the keen." And then the ear has never heard anything but abuse as strangely incredulous of anything so heavenly as kindness. She did not believe it. And then I said the quote shows how mentally unwell Topsy is by being able to accept kindness and thinking it was a joke even when Eva was being nice.
Perfect. Yeah. So do you understand now how to do it?
I put when she said that she was wicked.
Yes, and she does say that. I was wicked. Well, I guess I can't help it. I was just wicked.
But, I mean, it's really not her fault because that's all.
But you've never, like, gotten in a fight with your mom or something, and your mom's like, oh, you aren't telling the truth right now. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm a liar. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
My mom's pretty cool, so I don't have to lie.
That's good. That's good. But, yeah, I mean, we see that a lot at school when I'm like, hey, keep your eyes on your own paper. Oh, I'm a cheater. Okay. Okay. So this one, pretty easy. I just wanted to know if you read the chapter, what's happening in Kentucky. Here's another one. So I was going to ask you, what's the effect of Eva's death, or did you think it was a little melodramatic, which it is. You had to have been like, this is so melodramatic, because it is. And so I Googled that question, and this came up from Cliff's Notes again. And it does talk about the death of children and the pathos exploited. Well, pathos means emotion. So all of that, like how a child's death is so sentimental, and still brings, she shows us how Eva is totally angelic and innocent and pure and loving, and then she dies. It's like the death of pure and innocent and loving. It's like it all dies, because you're going to see it kind of does. Okay. And then Enrique, I was going to say, how is he a little hypocrite? And I Googled it, and I came up with this. So instead of you copy and pasting it, I did.
You beat us to it.
And I just wondered, was anybody a little creeped out by Henrique? And
He was like, was he like really in love with her?
I did it, yes. That's why I said that on the question. It seems a little creepy.
I
But
didn't really understand in the book, but since that you like explained it like that, I'm like how old are you?
Eve is only like 8 at this time,
And Henry's 12.
and he's like 12.
Gross.
I know, but a lot of royals marry their cousins. So, okay, so tonight, I changed the landing page.
I like the comic.
What?
I like the comic.
Oh, me too. I changed the landing page, and I took off the reading, and we'll work on that tomorrow. So I may change this as well. I took out the quiz for tomorrow. So we need to do the test redos, and we need to finish these questions, 20 to 26. Remember, restate, answer, cite, explain.
Reading 4 chapters.
They're short. They're getting shorter.
Okay.
They're not, it's not
I
terribly
noticed
long.
They're like 10 minutes long instead of 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, enjoy your day. Get some